in and return something. Okay, so that's part of this simple coding that demonstrates how durable functions work. So it's one of the samples that goes by default, and Microsoft usually shows this sample. Then it works exactly. Yeah, that's one of the CEO is reading. And yes, but it feels natural. It feels like usual coding experience. You just write this flow in your code. You call these functions as a different methods of any other class. So, and this simplicity can just you can extrapolate your previous experiences to these new circumstances and think that, okay, now I know how it works. I just call this activity like this and like that, and then you want to apply this in your project and something. What can go wrong? And yes, let's see. So what we will do now, we will take a bitmap from a blob storage. We will determine how many times we can downscale it to build this image pyramid, basically. We will simulate this. We will downscale it and apply some filters. And again, we are not going to see how I will write the code. We will just jump into some of the results. So the HTTP trigger stays as it was. Now what's changed is the orchestrator function. What happens in orchestrator function? Actually now it takes the inputs from the request. Then we load a bitmap from our blob storage. Then we prepare the collection for the results, to store the results. Then we call an activity function that will calculate how many times we can downscale the image to build the pyramid. Then there is some methods to determine whether it needs cropping. Sometimes images needs cropping to be downscaled without distortions. And if it's needed, we will call another activity function which will crop the image. And then for each level, we will downscale the image, apply the blur filtering, and put the results. We will save in the blob storage and put the results to our collection. Yes, so looks fine. Let's run. Why? Yes, because the previous one is still running. Yes. That was not planned. Okay, now it's running. Let's trigger it. Something happens. Let's check the status. Here, running. Okay. Still running. And still running. So, but let's not wait because it hangs here. It will run like for hours and it never progresses. And what is really confusing about it that they don't throw any exceptions, they don't say that something goes wrong. So what goes wrong? If we take a look at this orchestrating function, we see that we call asynchronously one activity, another activity, another activity, and here we asynchronously try to load a bitmap from the storage, but we don't call an activity here. And that's what gives us problems here. So we just use not a synchronous version of loading from the blob storage, and it will work. So we can await and run asynchronously only activity functions. Strange. Let's check. So we call this, we check the status, and it's failed. Okay, but at least it doesn't hang. Why it hangs? Okay, it says that, oh, it cannot use the bitmap. Okay, why? Because it's not, it looks like this code is executed in one address space, but it's not, because it's serverless functions. So we cannot just pass this bitmap as kind of pointer to the function. We need to serialize it. Okay, so we have something like serializable wrapper for this bitmap. We wrap the bitmap, we pass it there, and we get the result. Okay, maybe now. Sorry? Oh, again. Am I on time? Yes, thank you very much. Okay, let's trigger it again. And it's failed. And why it's failed? Okay, I know why it's failed. No surprise. Now, though it didn't provide a clear message why it failed, but it failed because of non-deterministic behavior here. Usually, yeah, and maybe in previous versions, or maybe there's something happens still in this branch. What they usually say, like non-deterministic behavior detected and stop working. So orchestrator function requires deterministic behavior, and we don't have deterministic behavior here, looks like. Okay, let's just check what I have here. Okay, I have a lot of questions now, like why it requires the storage account. The serialization is a simple one because it happens on a different process, and we cannot just pass a pointer. We need to encode our stuff, send it there, decode, process. Why it doesn't allow async calls, not clear. Why it complains about non-deterministic behavior. So to understand this, we need to see how durable functions work under the hood. Suppose we have an orchestrator function. When it comes to execution of an activity function, it sends a message to worker items queue, which is